welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, December 15th, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Events continue to unravel at the Buckermint Bay Resort as the electricity supply there was disconnected on Wednesday. This comes on the heels of weeks of employees' protests, action over unpaid wages. According to reports, the resort has arrears with VINLEC of over $1 million. SVG-TV caught up today with one of the resort's investors who divulged part of a recent conversation he had with the CEO, David Ames, in which Ames denied owing the electricity company any more than 500,000 EC dollars. The investor said that Ames further indicated that it is all just an attempt to rip him off. When asked about his thoughts on the entire situation, the investor said it is unfortunate.
It is not business as usual today at the Buckermint Bay Resort as there are no guests and no electricity. On Wednesday, the St. Vincent Electricity Services dismissed their services at the five-star resort, leaving management in a desperate hunt to seek other alternative accommodations for guests as they were asked to leave. The situation at the once bustling resort is so tense that one can literally hear a pin drop on the grounds of the Buckermint Bay Resort, which can be likened to a ghost town today. Operations at the resort abruptly halted on Wednesday as management was left with no choice but to ask guests to leave after the local electricity company terminated its services to the five-star resort shortly after midday. Graham Swain, one of the resort's investors, was part of Wednesday's fracas and did not refuse to express his growing disappointment, not only on behalf of the guests, but also the employees.
I think it's a shame what's happened. It's a shame for all the staff that have been loyal for all the years. You know, they've put 110% in, and it's a shame for the way that they've sort of just been told at the last minute that the jobs, the resort's closing and their jobs are over. It's a shame for them. It's a shame for all the guests that have, you know, had to leave and just make their own way home. Basically, but I think at the end of the day, the resort is still here. I understand that the company wants to just do a big refurbishment. It's not just sort of closed and the receivers are going to come in. And, you know, I think the resort's not just going to disappear overnight. A lot of investors have actually got the title deeds already on their properties, so they actually own that, so that can't just be sold to somebody if it was liquidized or receivership or something.
Swain, who indicated his regrets of having invested in the Harlequin Resort, stated he has visited multiple times and was part of the resort's journey from the ground up. He, however, felt that an attempt to save the resort should involve bringing some fresh faces on board.
I think they need to sell part of the company, take on another investor. He needs to put a lot of money in, and I think they need an investor that has got a property in the property business already, so that, you know, they can bring expertise in of people who know really well what they're doing. And I think with money and expertise, that's what the company needs. And, you know, it's got the potential to still be a good resort again, and hopefully that will happen.
The investor, who is also a guest at the resort, indicated that he made the conscious decision to stay at the hotel despite the lack of electricity.
I stayed here last night in the dark. It was just me and the security guy and a lot of police and mosquitoes. So I leave tomorrow now. So
okay.
Yeah.
But were you torn apart to see all the guests leaving?
Oh yeah, it was really bad. The staff felt really bad for them as well, because there was all they said was that all we can do is give you a transport to the airport. And so their holidays are over. They had to sort out their own flights with Liat and international flights to get home. There was nothing for them at all. So it was really upsetting, and the staff were upset to tell them. You know, the staff had just lost their jobs basically, so they were in tears themselves for their own reasons.
Meantime, SVG-TV caught up with some of the guests who were forced to seek accommodation elsewhere, but returned to the now closed resort only to enjoy the beach.
We woke up and the power was out in the morning, and then they told us that around the afternoon that the resort was closed, and they got people a ride to the airport.
And despite the news of their unsure future at the Buckermint Bay Resort, employees were seen on the compound, some seeking the back wages owed to them, while others were assisting in the cleanup process. According to them, while they were informed today in a meeting that AIMS would be involved in a conference call on Friday with all employees, they warned that they are no longer interested in cheap talk.
Look where this has come down to, that the resort has been closed because of negligence. And I would say that I don't care hell about anybody saying that. It's negligent, and I would say poor management. I wasn't afraid to say that. It's poor management, because if you can't pay electricity bill, you can't pay your water bill, you can't pay workers, that have to be poor management. And this is ridiculous. Look where this place come to. I never expected that.
I don't really want to get involved in anything. All I need is my money, my 2 months' money, and my severance, because I don't really want to come back down here and work.
Well, I'm concerned about my future here, working here, but if you see certain things going on, they'll look for different alternatives. You have to probably...
And have you?
Yeah, I'm started that already, so, I mean, I'm a guy who believes in God, so I believe that he's going to provide something that's different for me, so...
Meantime, in an attempt to get a response from VINLEC, its communications manager, Tamara Job-Sprott, stated it is a policy of the company not to divulge any information regarding customers' accounts. Nolisha Miller, The Evening News.
Meanwhile, chairman of the Harlequin Group of Companies, owners of the Buckermont Bay Resorts, David Ames, has issued an official statement regarding the recent downward spiral of events at the resort. In a press release dated September 15, 2016, Ames stated that Harlequin has decided to take on a managed temporary closure with a skeleton staff being maintained to secure the premises. The release further explained that due to a succession of extreme weather events and a general disruption in services in recent weeks, occupancy is low at present. However, all guests are being relocated and compensated at the expense of the resort. A guest who was staying at the resort and left for Barbados last evening told SVG-TV News via the telephone that they were not given any information as to how they will be reimbursed for monies already paid for their stay at the resort, which had to be cut short because of the services there. Ames said they're hoping to refurbish the resort and reopen under new management in spring 2017. After putting his party and others on notice that he will speak on his future in politics in Parliament today, Thursday, 15 December 2016, opposition MP for Central Kingstown, Major Sinclair Leacock, instead told members of the House how hurt he was not being given a fair chance for the leadership position of the NDP. However, he will ensure that he served the people who elected him well. Leacock claimed that proper protocol was not followed and assured the public that while he was hurt mainly by the internal criticisms faced within his own political party, he still remains committed to the party and the people he represents. Given a detailed outline of his achievements thus far politically and personally, Leacock then proceeded to congratulate Dr. Godwin Friday, who was appointed opposition leader and automatically assumed the leadership position of the NDP after Leacock bowed out of the race at the last minute. Leacock also went over to shake the hand of Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, whom he said was one of few who telephoned him after the process. Leacock spoke of the 30 years he had in the political arena and 15 in the New Democratic Party.
I didn't leave the New Democratic Party. The New Democratic Party seemingly has left me. I've had two important calls among the calls that I've had since the elevation of Dr. Friday to his office. None.
I remember you had to wrap it up.
I'm wrapping up now. Okay. None from a colleague, even except for Dr. Jules Ferdinand. Twice from Sir James Mitchell. And the consolation exchange with the Honourable Prime Minister, who I believe was straight enough to recognize my worth, my value in political service. I don't think it's unfair to say that the door is open and that it is left for me to see how I spend the rest of my years, whether I want them to be in the wilderness or to make them available to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in a principled manner. At this time, Mr. Speaker, I'm conscious of the fact that I am the embodiment, not just of Sinclair Leacock, but the hundreds of poor suffering people who have held faith in me for very many years.
Describing the congratulatory remarks made by Leacock as unusual, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves was emphatic to his plight and called for him to be treated with respect.
But it touched me, his words, that he's enduring great suffering and humiliation, and is pained, and his great suffering and humiliation and pain are occasioned by those in an organization to which he had given 35 years service. I must say I was very touched by this. But there's a larger question, Mr. Speaker. The large question is this. When persons serve for a long period of time, either in their going and when they're gone, in their service and when they have completed their service, it is a fundamental matter that such a person be treated with respect.
Opposition leader and head of the NDP, Dr. Godwin Friday, expressed thanks to those who congratulated him on his new post, and especially thanked Leacock for his understanding. He used the opportunity to call on persons who were brewing discord within the NDP and Leacock over the recent election exercise for a new leader to be more productive with their time.
He called me, Mr. Speaker, the day following the election to congratulate me and to pledge his support and allegiance to me in the House here. It's not an easy thing to do. I too am pained by the anguish that he feels, and it has caused me a lot of anxiety and, quite frankly, sleepless nights, Mr. Speaker, because it is a person for whom I have the greatest of respect and have worked with very closely over the years. That hasn't changed. For those, Mr. Speaker, who would sow the seeds of division and who would delight in the difficult circumstances, I would say, find something better to do with your time.
Educators across the Caribbean region are here for the Caribbean Union of Teachers, the CUT 7th Regional Education Conference, which opened last evening. At the opening ceremony held at the Teachers Cooperative Credit Union building, participants were urged to engage fully in the discussions to be held over the next 2 days on the business of education in the region. SVG-TV's Nikita Tony tells us more in this report.
Seeking to promote optimum working and learning conditions for all teachers and students across the Caribbean region, the Caribbean Union of Teachers, CUT, officially opened its 7th Regional Education Conference on Wednesday evening at the SVG Teachers Cooperative Credit Union headquarters. The conference, which is supported by the Ministry of Education, will be held under the theme Towards Decent Work, the impact of health and safety in the work environment on teacher professionalism and learning outcomes in the Caribbean. Noting that the conference comes on the heels of a 3-day CUT executive meeting, which was also held here in SVG, President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, SVG-TU, Oswald Robinson, expressed his organization's elation at being able to host such an important function, which seeks to develop and enhance the conditions of all educators and students.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union have joined hands with the Ministry of Education. We are in collaboration, and this is another manifestation of our workings together to share, to participate, to make friends, and to enjoy each other's company. Important ingredient in the whole integration movement.
Cognizant of the fact that a nation's workers and students are its most important resources, Minister of Education Sinclair Jimmy Prince outlined that his ministry is committed to working alongside the Teachers Union to provide the requisite tools and environment necessary for teachers and students to excel.
The word invest. As such, an initiative should not be seen as cost, but rather an investment into the lives of our Caribbean citizenry, and by extension, the development of our respective countries. And as such, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and in particular the Ministry of Education, is committed to continue to implement such programs in an effort to create an environment which is conducive to the development of both the teachers and the students. It is well documented that such an approach will impact positively on teachers' professionalism and the learning outcomes of students.
Outlining that everything which happens in the society is reflected in the schools, President of the CUT, Julian Monrose, highlighted that teaching has become a hazardous or risky occupation.
So as a responsible organization of teachers, we have to focus on these issues, and not just to discuss them, not just to deliberate, but to be able to find solutions. So this conference is not just about stating the problem, but we expect that this conference will make recommendations that will guide the work of the CUT and of member organizations within the CUT.
Pointing out numerous factors in the work environment which may affect the emotional and psychological well-being of all teachers, keynote speaker and first vice president of the CUT, Mary Redmond, outlined that it is a fundamental right for teachers as human beings and workers to work in safe and healthy conditions. She noted that despite the many challenges, educators across the region continue to dedicate themselves to providing their nations with productive citizens.
With caring and regard for all that has gone before, Caribbean governments, through their education officials, must exhibit a new and deep conviction to right the wrongs as this relates to workplace health and safety issues for education workers and students, the most important contributors to growth and development in any society.
Participants at the CUT conference expect to have a successful event, which will bring forth recommendations and possible solutions to improving their conditions. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
Leaders representing various local Christian organizations came together on Wednesday afternoon at a media conference where a joint statement was read regarding the increase in crime and violence here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Bishop Leopold Friday, on behalf of the collective group of Christian organizations, read the statement.
The Christian community in St. Vincent and the Grenadines expresses our concern for the increase in crime and violence in the state. To this end, we are committed to working together to respond to this situation and hope to consult with government and other agencies to see how best we can partner in addressing this issue. While individual churches at present are making efforts in response to the issue, there's need for greater collaboration among churches for a more holistic approach. We believe that there's need for a proper study and analysis of the crime situation, and that it's necessary for us to build relationships among ourselves as a Christian community as we seek the way forward. And that we should seek to, whatever projects we embark on, we should consider very seriously the continuity and sustainability as we do so.
Speaking on criticisms that the church has been silent during times of need, Reverend Dr. Cecil Richards said, on the contrary, churches have constantly addressed issues plaguing the society. However, they're often ignored until something drastic happens.
The church has been the one constant, I think, that has been battling and propagating values that are anti-crime. So while I listen, I do take offense to that sort of idea that the church has been silent when the church has actually been most vocal. I think what has happened is that people, by their secularization and by their secular values, have marginalized the church as if the church is some archaic, useless institution. Like the bishop says, you call and our voice is there, but we are not being heard. And sometimes we are leaned on in times of convenience when there is a situation that is dire, when there is an urgent, when 4 people are murdered in one night. Then we hear, well, where's the church? Well, the church has always been there.
The group said preliminary discussions are underway and that they are taking collaborative measures to provide an informed response to the general public before moving forward with their plans. Representative of the Pentecostal Association of the West Indies, Bishop Sonny Williams, reassured the public that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not yet far gone, and as church leaders, they will be doing their part to ensure that peace is restored within communities here.
Criminality in the country is of grave concern. The church, individually, as when we collaborate individually, we find it disturbing and alarming, and would like to see a curtailment. And with this kind of level of collaboration, we can challenge one another. As we collaborate together, we could challenge one another about our methodology. Of course. And we could learn from one another. Of course. We could learn best practices. We could look at different models. And hence, collaboration is always fruitful. Yes. And fighting crime, we have to fight crime on many fronts. And also, we must do so by utilizing the collective resources in the body of Christ.
The Public Health Department has initiated its annual Christmas food inspection program, geared towards ensuring the safety of meat and other food products for consumption. SVG-TV's Barvin Oliver caught up with two environmental health officers who were conducting meat inspections at an abattoir in the Belair area. Here's more.
With the festive season now in high gear, the Public Health Department has been inspecting and certifying meat from across various slaughterhouses across SVG to ensure that meat is clean, healthy, and fit for consumption. Environmental Health Officer Donat Pierre explains that cleanliness is of great importance and advised butchers across the island to ensure that animals are properly washed before slaughter.
Before you actually slaughter your animals should be washed. And the reason why you should wash the animal is so that you can take all of the contaminants from the skin or the hide of the animal. You don't want this contaminant to get onto the dressed product and contaminate the meat. After the animal is washed, it is being stunned, it is being dressed, and when we say dressed, we mean the skin or the hide comes off. And then it is being eviscerated, meaning that the intestines and everything comes out. After that, the animal is hoisted on rails and awaits the inspection of an officer. You must know that when you're killing an animal, ensure that the intestine does not come into contact with the meat itself, because the intestines carry a lot of bacteria, and we want to prevent contamination, and we want to make sure that safe meat enters into the food chain.
Pierre added that animals should never be slaughtered under trees, as this exposes the meat to harmful environmental contaminants.
After inspection is being done, the meat is fit and wholesome for human consumption. A certificate, an inspection certificate, will be granted to the butcher. Absolutely no animal should be slaughtered under trees, on poles, or out in the open where there are environmental contaminants. So you have the dust, the wind, the rain, the sun. We don't want that. If you have to slaughter, ensure that the slaughtering area is concreted and all of the other things that we would have said before.
The Environmental Health Officer added that proper hygiene is also critical and advised that river water should never be used to wash meat.
Make sure that you're properly attired in clean clothing and your feet are covered with properly closed-toed shoes. The floor of the slaughter area should be clean. It should be made of concrete so that it can facilitate easy cleaning. The walls should be clean, and this too will help to facilitate easy cleaning. The area must be properly lighted, and the area must also be fitted with pipe-borne water. Now, the reason why it has to have pipe-borne water is because there are times and circumstances, situations, where there are persons who actually use river water to wash the meat. And this river water actually compromises the meat and causes it to spoil much faster because the bacteria from the river enters the meat and then contamination occurs. So absolutely no river water should be used in the harvesting of any food animals.
Barvin Oliver, SVG Television, Evening News.